What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Building Code. I'm Zach Witovich.
Very delayed intro there, and I'm Charlie Burtwhistle.
I looked at you. I thought it was obvious that you would.
Oh, you wanted me to jump
pick
in?
It up. Yeah, I was.
Well, hey, we're only 100 episodes in, so we still have time to kind of figure out the timing.
And one of these days, we're gonna nail it.
Yeah, probably not, but day by day we get a little better and better. Today would be a good one to be really dialed in for because we have a very exciting guest. Catherine Streif is on the podcast. Welcome to the Building Code.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
And Catherine is the reason we are so excited to have her is she used to be a Buildertrend employee. So she used to roam the grand halls of the Buildertrend office.
What is this, Hogwarts? The grand halls?
I'd like to think so. Yeah, the one staircase we have moves every day.
Yeah.
But she is back in the office. We're very, very excited to have you here.
Thank you.
Roll out the red carpet.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know.
Yeah, Danielle greeted me at the door.
Oh,
I mean, it's rolled out already.
Yeah, I was gonna say, you haven't maintained your friendship since you left, right?
Yeah, it's just been so hard to stay in touch, with everyone. Every
Catherine,
day.
Catherine's an absolute legend here. It's exciting to see you back at Buildertrend.
And I think the first ever former employee we've had on the podcast. We've had current employees. We've had customers, obviously. I don't think we've ever had a former employee.
What a way to ring in the 201st episode.
Yeah, absolutely. This is an exciting one. So welcome to the Building Code. First time on the Building Code. Obviously, Zach and I know you very well. We have a packed sound booth here to listen to this exciting episode today. But for our listeners that don't know you, can you give us a little bit about a little background?
Yeah. Out of college, I worked at an ad agency for about a year. That's where I fell in love with social media and blog writing, and about a year there, I saw a marketing opportunity here at Buildertrend that I just simply couldn't resist. And a little bit of a funny story, my now husband, is the whole reason that I knew about Buildertrend and even found the job listing. So shout out to him for a great 6.5 years here. But yeah, I started at Buildertrend. I came on board really to just get a blog started. There was no blog. There wasn't really a marketing team at the time either. No podcast. That wasn't even on the radar.
Do you even have an Instagram or like a Twitter?
There was an Instagram, yes. Oh yeah. There were all the social platforms existing. I mean, obviously there's platforms now that exist that didn't exist then. But Buildertrend was everywhere. It was just a lot of assorted people helping with things. It was like all hands on deck situation, which is great.
The startup culture.
Totally. And which is like so fun and so special. But I came on board to start the blog, and then I just really wormed my way into a bunch of other things. I was like super nosy and got involved with email marketing, kind of helping the sales team develop that sort of thing. We didn't have a lot of teammates on in the marketing side. So once I took over social, we started filling so many roles. We even moved offices in that time. A lot happened, a lot of growth. And eventually my role, once we started filling more needs and hiring awesome people who were in specialized roles, I took over the social and our influencers and that kind of realm. On the content marketing side, and I loved it. It was just such a great 6.5 years, and that's how I met my now boss, Nick. He was an influencer for Buildertrend, and he just said one day, "Want to check out the Builder?" He won your heart.
Yeah,
won your heart.
Yeah.
Poached her.
Yeah. And it's just so fun to see things on the builder side and be, I managed partnerships in one way, and now I kind of get to do it on the other side. So yeah, been there about over a year now.
I would say you have like the true like Buildertrend success story of like, especially when you joined, it was who can do this thing that we need done, and it doesn't matter about your role or how long you've been here or where you're at. It was just like the land of opportunity. And I mean, the marketing team was probably like 3 or 4 people when you joined?
At the time, it was me.
Just you.
Okay, that's not true. Of course, there were people who helped with marketing when I started, but I was the only person who had like marketing in their title.
Right.
And was hired for that being the sole focus. So, and marketing, that's a big bubble, I mean, there's a lot of pieces in that. So to only have a few people and just like for Buildertrend to see the success that they had at the time with that limited of resources and people dedicating small amounts of their time, it's so impressive. So obviously I was like, yeah, I want to help because look at what you've done already and just imagine where you can go. So it was so fun to start the blog. Of course, it looks so much different and so much better now after years of evolution into what the blog is, what our social is. I mean, what I say are, because it was,
Yeah.
hard not to. But
He may have stole your heart, but
Yeah.
we'll always be your first love. You can't grow that.
Yeah.
Can't take that away.
well, I will always, always, always support Buildertrend. I loved my time here. So, yeah, it's just to be a part of that growth and to watch how things have changed. It's just so fun.
Can we just have things about Nick on here and be just roast him? It's
No, I would never.
He went on the pod to just
He's the best.
tear down NS builders. He's awesome.
Yeah, he's really great. He's a really good boss.
Yeah. Well, that's what we brought you on to talk
I'm
a little
trying to
bit
get
about.
brownie points here.
Yeah, there you go.
He's the best.
Yep, he's the best. Let me just list off all the great things.
That's
about
right.
him.
He is extremely impressive. I've got to get to know him at the contractor coalitions that sometimes you are not invited to, and it's really awesome to watch Nick talk about his business and how important marketing is to that business and how he's grown his brand. So we brought you on today because we want to talk a little bit about how you grew up, you got your marketing chops at Buildertrend, and you took it to the big player in the construction space. What's it like running a construction marketing brand?
It's honestly amazing. I obviously came to a team who, once again, was doing incredibly impressive things. Nick is so driven, and the people he has surrounding him are equally as impressive. They're just, even on construction side, content side, no matter what, he's just surrounded himself with really, really, really awesome people. But I've had such a respect for home builders my entire life. My grandpa was a builder. So, it's always been part of our family, part of our history. But that respect deepened when I obviously worked here at Buildertrend, because I got to know a bunch of our customers. I formed relationships with people who were influencers. They're just that's just an industry of impressive people. They are so hardworking and so dedicated. They're just impressive. So to be on that side of things and work on the builder side is just so cool and so fun for me and very fulfilling. Working for Nick and a team like that, they're just pushing boundaries of what builders can do, not only on the building front, but also on the marketing front. So it's just a very exhilarating team to be a part of. I'm literally never bored. Ever.
That's
Never,
awesome to
ever.
hear. And I think it's it's kind of similar to when you joined Buildertrend. It was kind of a growing function here. I can see a shift even in the kind of 5 years I've been at Buildertrend of the, a home builder and remodeler and trade, the industry, the construction industry in general, kind of shifting more towards this digital first approach. Nick obviously has some stuff up and running, as you'd previously mentioned, but I'm guessing a lot of our listeners out there are kind of in the same boat where they're doing a little bit here and there. They're trying to get it figured out. They're trying to roll it out. Could you maybe speak a little bit around just what the importance of it is and kind of what you're trying to do? Obviously a lot more goes into it than just posting on Instagram and writing blogs, but why that's important and why our listeners should really take a second and focus and figure out their kind of digital strategy.
Right. And I think when we talk about the digital world and content marketing, and I think what would be great for listeners is even to just talk about what is that? What is under the content marketing umbrella? What is, we hear digital. We obviously know that that's all going to exist on the internet, on the web for the most part. But what really is content marketing? And of course, this definition kind of changes because new things get created all the time. It's an exhausting but cool industry to keep up with. But what I kind of consider to be under the content marketing umbrella would be podcast, obviously. Blogs, email campaigns, ebooks, case studies, courses, webinars, slide decks, video. And then, of course, the big one is obviously social media, which also incorporates a ton of that stuff back into it. So the list sounds exhausting, honestly. It's tiring to even think about and talk about. And I know listeners probably think that it's exhausting as well. But I think what people can really remember and to have peace of mind in this is that we can't do them all at one time. I don't know many builders that have that robust of a team to be
Right.
tackling all of this at one time. So I think the importance is to narrow down what the platforms are that are going to make the biggest, or what items under that umbrella are going to make the biggest impact for your
Right.
company, and what do you actually have the resources for. And I'm probably going to come back to this a lot, because I can sit in a room with a bunch of builders and like you can talk about all this stuff and you just see their eyes get like this look in them where they're just sitting there so overwhelmed. And I get it. It is overwhelming. I mean, as a person who works in this industry, I'm always having to like learn about these new things and keep up. So it's exhausting on all sides. But remembering that you don't have to do them all. You're probably not going to break anything if you do try a new one at any time. It's just a matter of dialing in and being really realistic with yourself in the terms of what do we have the resources for, what will bring the biggest impact
Right.
to our business, and start there. And that's just where, you know,
Yeah, I think
one foot in front of the other. Just start there.
yeah, listening to you talk, the word that came to my mind would be like intentional.
Yes.
Like just be really intentional about what you're doing. Because I see a ton of people, and I won't name names, but like their last Instagram post was like 3 or 4 years ago. It's like, okay, are you going to do this or are you not going to do this, right? Or you have a blog post from 2 years ago and it was half written.
Mm-hmm.
Like you don't need to try to do everything.
No, and it's okay if you don't. This is across the whole digital world. This doesn't matter the industry. You could
Right.
be a person, you could be a business owner. It's so hard not to feel that like comparison game and that
Yeah.
need to keep up with what other builders are doing. But at the end of the day, like their main focus is to build homes, remodel, whatever, like build. I mean, that's your main focus. All of this other stuff is just obviously to help that, to supplement that. But, and to draw attention to it and to potentially get more leads. But as long as, you know, building is your main focus, and that's okay to sometimes feel like you have to prioritize that over the digital side of things. But it's the being intentional, honestly. It's just, you don't have to keep up with what everyone else is doing. There's 20 different ways you can go about content marketing. Pick the 3 most important ones to you right now. And I think it's great to have goals of what you will add if your team grows, or if you know, gain more resources. Maybe you hire a freelancer, maybe you hire a consultant, something. It's great to have plans for what you want to add to that list, but it doesn't have to be all 20 at
Yeah.
one time, and nor would anyone expect that from you. And it's better to do a couple things really well than to try all of them and do them at 50% or less.
Yeah.
I mean, and most of these builders too, like they built such beautiful projects, and that part they've got dialed in, so they're not used to like, it's just like you do that side so well, so you kind of want to feel the same way about the digital side as well, the content side.
I think one of the things too that people forget is that marketing isn't just a sales tool.
Right.
One thing I like about how Nick approaches his digital strategy is it's a lot of customer education.
Big
And
time.
highlighting what he builds, the quality, the pride he takes, and he just loves talking about his work.
Yeah.
And so that is marketing. And
Right.
he's talked.
And that's the thing, is like, what's your goal? I mean, if you are a builder who has so much word of mouth, then take the ease off, like on the social side. Don't worry about selling. Utilize it as a portfolio, as a storybook. Tell the story that's been in the back of your mind. Like, talk about your team. Talk about your involvement in organizations in the industry. You can focus on education. You can focus on, there's so much other stuff that you can do on social and in your content that has nothing to do with like trying to book your next job. And so have fun with it too. I think like that's the thing that people forget as well, is it feels so, there's so much pressure, and it's the keeping up. It's the, oh, they do it this way, so we should try it. That seems to be working for them. I can't stress enough that you as the business owner, whoever's kind of forging this path of what your strategy is going to be on social, you need to be bought into it entirely. You need to be putting out content you really enjoy posting, because if you don't and you aren't all all in on what you're posting, you're going to constantly be looking at it being like, is this really worth the time we're spending on this? Like, you're just going to have this doubt in your mind that it's just not right. So go back to the drawing board and think about, okay, maybe we want to go down the education path. We'd really, we want to invest in that side. Or maybe we do just want to post pictures of our homes and keep it really simple and clean and just, not overthink that side of things. And it doesn't have to be everyone's passion point either. Content is Nick's passion point. It's my passion point. It's many builders I've met passion point, but it's not everyone's, and that's okay. Maybe the blog is for you. Maybe you're more of a thoughtful person who wants to put pen to paper, but digitally, and you just want to write about it, and that's fine too. And there's a content marketing avenue out there for everyone, and you should be utilizing them. Like I said, don't have to use all of them, but find the ones that are right for you with the right goals and just are full of content you actually enjoy. Because otherwise, what's the point? I mean,
yeah.
You got to be bought in. And even if that means revisiting every couple months, like, it doesn't always have to stay the same either. You're not going to break anything. I mean, I'm sure builders have so much potential there. I mean, you're not going to break anything. Try it out, see, test some things, see what works, and go from there.
And I do think that right now, if you do put in the effort, there's two things. One, the content engine rewards momentum. The more you produce, the more you're going to get out of it.
Consistency, for sure.
Right? And then the second thing is, in construction, you will stand out. You will be different if you take these investments, because it isn't normal to have a very active Instagram page that is pumping out content considerably. Mm-hmm. And so someday it will be normal, I believe.
Right. And yes, it's literally in my notes. That's a very important thing to remember, is that this is still a relatively untapped market for a lot. You're thinking, when you're the one feeling like you're not keeping up, you're gonna feel like, oh, everyone's doing it, I'm just the only one not. But that's not the case. There are so many companies out there that are not tapping into this, and once again, that's not okay. Maybe it's just not a priority for right now. But if this is something you want to do, just the time is now, because it will pay off, and it will become a lot more common, especially the younger some of these companies get. Like, it's just gonna be, it won't be untapped forever. So now is a very good time to jump in.
What would you say to someone that's like a very prominent podcast host, and they don't have any social media platforms other than a LinkedIn that they haven't updated in 10 years? Like, don't you think that would be beneficial for not just the individual, but maybe the podcast as a whole?
Yeah. Even if it was just LinkedIn that you stuck on, I think it could use a little update.
Zach Witovich does not have any social pages.
I knew that was going to come up at some point. He's over here talking about content marketing.
I love marketing. I'm just not a self-promoter.
That's okay.
Yeah, everyone's got their thing. That's my brand.
But if our podcast team had asked you maybe to do it.
Oh, no.
We're airing out the dirty laundry. This is not about me. It's about her. No,
I'm sorry. Yeah, I do have an actual question, because I think, Nick and yourself and NS as a whole do such a good job. And everything you're talking about, I'm sure, are things that you've learned yourself. So maybe you can give a little words of wisdom, leading from the front. What are you guys being really intentional about right now? Or how do you kind of set your strategy as a whole? Obviously, you're not just jumping in and posting as many things in as many different areas as you can.
No, we stop and look and reflect a lot. And I think
you should see their content calendar.
What's so admirable of Nick, especially, is that it's just incredibly thoughtful about everything, and it does even teach me to be more so that way. Just it's coming back to the word intentional. And I think I almost even just forgot what your question was, but I think stepping back and reflecting often is really important, because you can just really get into the wheel of where you're just posting a bunch of stuff, and then you're like, what is really the meaning of this? And because especially if you're hiring videographers, photographers, etc., like you might have a lot of content coming your way, but what really is the end goal? And if there isn't an end goal and you're just kind of posting to post, I mean, you just have to think like, well, what am I really doing for my audience here? You know,
Right.
it's just, you can think about identifying your audience and thinking about what they would want, and that just really needs to be at the forefront of your decisions. And not only your audience, but do you have partners that you might be answering to, or do you have goals to have brand partners, and do you have goals to make more sales? And it's just, all of that needs to be feeding into those overall goals, and stepping back and reflecting, revisiting your content calendar if you have one, making a content calendar if you don't have one. Just being really, really intentional is the best advice, because it can happen before you know it. You're just posting to post, and you're not really putting any thought. And then before you know it too, your social might feel a bit robotic. People are going to forget who the humans are behind your business, who the humans are behind your brand. I mean, you might realize too, like, oh my gosh, I haven't even like shown my face on social in a while. People are going to forget who we are and stuff like that. So it's just taking moments to be really reflective of what you're doing and why you're doing it, and reshifting. If that means taking a week off from posting and shifting your video strategy, shifting your content calendar, do it. I mean, it's 1 week off to potentially see a ton of benefit, and it's worth it. I mean, I just think you don't have to rush it. It's just take the time to figure out, here's what we need to do, and here's why we need to make these changes. And I'm just lucky to work with someone who's really okay with that and being really intentional. Something just refreshing.
Yeah, absolutely. Another benefit that we haven't hit on yet that I know Zach is huge on, and we were just talking about, is just like the community aspect.
Sure.
Like if you see Nick like walk into the International Builder Show or the Contractor Coalition, is like instantly has a circle of people to connect with and talk to. And I know I follow most people we have on the podcast. I follow them on Instagram now and keep up with what they're doing. But I feel like that's something that people are always looking for, is what are peers out there doing? How can I connect with them? And I feel like having a social presence is a great way to kind of start making those connections. Absolutely. And learning from other people, and them learning from you, and being able to share what you're trying to do, and kind of getting that back and forth going as well.
That's the thing, is like, even if you aren't using it to connect with customers, you can connect with other builders. And to see how the industry has changed so much over the years, I feel like when I first started at Buildertrend, there were pretty limited amount of events in a year that builders really got to be together. I mean, the International Builder Show was one, and that, of course, draws a great amount of people because it's the international show. It's, it's once a year. Everyone can kind of remember that, and they all get together there. But besides that, I just felt like not only did we not see customers that often, but there just weren't that many networking events for builders. I mean, maybe they were, just in your town or just in your really small scale, where now I see so many builders. I mean, obviously I'm going to talk about my favorite event, the Contractor Coalition Summit, but there's events being started like that are by builders for builders, and there's groups you can be a part of, and there's so much more community than ever. Like, I just feel like that has increased so much over the years, and it's the same with social. I mean, people talk to each other there. It's not just a platform to like there are people having full-on conversations about how they run their business in DMs. Like, you're having serious conversations, forming really great relationships, friendships, business, like, relationships in this way. So to not be on social, that's what you're missing out on too. I mean, yeah, there's just so much potential for so much transparency across the industry now that it's just, it'd be a shame, if you didn't hop on social every now and again, even if the whole content calendar thing isn't for you right now, at least, be on there as a presence enough to connect with other builders, because it's just a missed opportunity if not.
We are running out of time, but before we let you go, Catherine, I do want to ask, which one do you think has the biggest benefit? What if you could pick one content vertical or creative area, where do you guys see the biggest return?
Okay, so for me, for social platforms, I'm going to say Instagram from a business standpoint. LinkedIn is really great from a personal standpoint, but Instagram is incredibly visual. It's probably has, I feel like, the lowest barrier to entry to create a profile. It's on your phone. It literally takes minutes, maybe even seconds if you're a really fast typer and you know like what you want your username to be and everything. But to set up that profile, it's just so simple. And that is definitely a place where I feel like people are really good at having one-to-one conversations if that's what you're interested in. And it's so simple to post videos and photos. It's schedules now. I mean, there's been improvements, didn't always do that. It was really frustrating before to schedule, but you can do so much on there. So for social platforms, I'm going to say Instagram. If I was choosing a different avenue, maybe something on your website, I would probably say a blog or a newsletter, or both potentially if you can, have your blog lead to your newsletter. I feel like they're going through a phase again where they're becoming more prominent because there's a lot of stories to be told. There's a lot of valuable content to be put in there. And obviously it's great for SEO. It's a great thing to have on your website. So yeah, I would say those are the tops.
What I love about that, and Zach asked the question in a slightly different way than I was going to say, if you were to advise a new kind of business where the right place to start is, what would you say? But the fact that Instagram is kind of the best of both, right? Lowest barrier to entry and potentially the highest reward seems like a win-win.
Yeah, or if you haven't posted in years, it's the easiest to like get back to it. There's no one's expecting you to be like announce your comeback or like you don't have to like make this big ordeal. It would be sweet, and if that's what you want to do, I'm all for it. But there's no crazy tie to this like timeline or anything like that where you feel like, oh my gosh, everyone's going to notice that I haven't posted for years. And it's just, whether you're just joining or whether you're revamping or revising your strategy, whatever stage you are, I would still just say Instagram is it's the most successful from what I've seen for people. And a lot of brands are on there. It's full of people. So, yeah.
Love it. That's a hot tip for our listeners out there. Get the gram right.
Yeah, Zach.
Better get a gram, period.
Yeah. For you, that is the tip. But
yeah, I'm sure the listeners are dying for my take on what restaurant I'm eating this weekend. All right, everybody. Catherine, thank you so much for coming on the Building Co. It was great to see you.
Thank you.
The first Buildertrend alumni back in the studio. You're always welcome back.
Absolutely. I was gonna say you mentioned the term SEO at the end there.
Oh my
I feel like we
gosh.
need to do a whole nother episode just around that.
Just around SEO.
You could have multiple episodes on that.
Well, there you go. We got you back on. Thank you so much for coming in. It was great to have you back in the halls. And I think that about does it for us.
I'm Zach Witovich.
And I'm Charlie Burtwhistle. We'll see you next time.
Thanks for watching the video. Remember to subscribe to the YouTube channel for exclusive content brought to you by Buildertrend.